My heart was absolutely hammering, my eyes stinging with unshed tears as a complete stranger screamed racist at me, her phone shoved inches from my face, recording every mortified second, all because I dared to wipe down my own damn table. Yeah, you read that right. I was just trying to enjoy a nice family dinner, minding my own business, dressed in my usual comfortable uniform of black dress pants, black shoes, and a black polo shirt. It's my go-to. I wear it everywhere. Our table was a little sticky, maybe my nephew spilled something, I don't know. So I just grabbed a clean towel from the hostess stand, a habit from my brief stint waiting tables years ago, and did a quick swipe. No big deal, right? Just being a tidy human. As I was heading back to my family, towel in hand, I saw this woman gesturing wildly from the waiting area. She looked impatient. "Excuse me," she called out, a little too sharply. I gave a polite nod and a small smile, assuming she was just talking to someone else or venting, but then she practically lunged, blocking my path. "Excuse me?" she repeated louder this time, her voice dripping with irritation. My stomach dropped. Oh no, I knew this look. "Can I help you?" I asked, trying to keep my voice even, though a tiny alarm bell was already ringing in my head. Before I could even process her next move, she slammed her hand down on the nearest empty table. Whap! Making me jump. Then, with a theatrical flourish, she whipped out her phone and started recording. My blood ran cold. "I was wondering why you're ignoring me," she practically shrieked, her voice already climbing. "Ma'am, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just trying to get back to my family," I said, pointing vaguely towards our table, where my mom and the rest were starting to notice the commotion. That's when she went full-blown nuclear. Her voice ratcheted up another octave, echoing through the moderately busy restaurant. "Oh, now you're talking to me. Funny how you ignored me for 5 minutes, but you were quick enough to wipe down their table." She jabbed a finger accusingly at my family. "Everyone, notice the white customers that arrived after me. This server here took care of their table right away." I just stared dumbfounded. "What? No, I just wiped down my table, our table, because it was messy." She scoffed, a sneer twisting her face. "Oh, so you admit you took care of that table? You followed me, didn't you, because of my skin color?" My jaw actually dropped. "Are you serious? No, I don't even work here. I'm a customer." The words tumbled out, desperate and choked. The accusation, so public, so venomous, hit me like a physical blow. Racism? Me? I felt a hot flush creep up my neck. "Don't you lie to me," she yelled, her phone still trained on my face. "I've got it all on video. I'm sending this to the owners and you will be fired. What's your name?" My eyes started to sting. I felt like I was in a nightmare, on trial in front of strangers for something so utterly absurd and offensive. I tried to duck my head to hide from the glaring lens, my face burning with shame and utter disbelief. I just wanted the floor to swallow me whole. Then a voice cut through the noise, calm but firm. "Excuse me, what's going on here?" Our manager David appeared from nowhere, his face a mask of practiced politeness but his eyes scanning the scene. Finally, the woman screamed, swiveling her phone to include David. "This man, he needs to be fired. He racially discriminated against me. He ignored me to serve these white people who came in after me." David, bless his unflappable soul, just nodded slowly, letting her rant wind down a bit. He had that weary, "oh, not again" look on his face that only experienced managers possess. Suddenly, my mom, who had seen the whole spectacle unfolding, came storming over, her usually gentle face set in a fierce glare. "Excuse me," she interjected, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "This is my son. He doesn't work here." She was wiping down our table. "She's a paying customer." Right behind her, my friend Sarah also stepped up. "Yeah," Sarah added, facing the woman with a defiant look. "Ethan's a regular here. He just cleaned up our spill. He's not an employee, and he definitely isn't a racist." The woman's frantic energy seemed to deflate slightly at the combined front. Her jaw actually dropped for a second as she took in my mom's protective stance and Sarah's confident rebuttal. The phone, still recording, wavered slightly. David stepped in then. "Ma'am, perhaps we can discuss this calmly over here." The woman, now looking a lot less sure of herself, muttered something indignant, finally lowering her phone. She shot me one last venomous look before David steered her away, still talking in that soft, placating tone. My mom immediately pulled me into a hug, whispering, "It's okay, honey, it's okay." I was still shaking. A few minutes later, David came back, apologizing profusely. Ethan, I'm so sorry you had to go through that. That was completely out of line. He then offered us a free dessert for the trouble, which honestly was a nice gesture, but I was still too rattled to really enjoy it. So yeah, that's the story of how a simple act of tidiness got me accused of being a racist server and almost had me fired from a job I don't even have. It was humiliating, infuriating, and just plain bonkers. But hey, at least I got a free slice of cheesecake out of it. Sometimes minding your own business isn't enough to avoid the crazy, and sometimes black on black is apparently a uniform. Until next time, stay safe out there, folks, and maybe don't wear black on black to a restaurant.
All right, the last story is wild, and it's not what you think. Before we get into it, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next round.
The phone shrieked its second ring, a sound usually reserved for emergencies, or worse, another Karen Bob, our esteemed general manager, had bay-oled for the day, leaving me, Kai, alone to handle the phones just before noon on a Tuesday. I was already mid-call, trying to pacify a gentleman convinced his membership card had been personally stolen by a rogue treadmill, when the line for incoming calls decided to light up like a Christmas tree. I ended the treadmill saga with a sigh, picked up the new line, and tried to summon my most chipper customer service voice. "Hello, this is Kai. How can I help you today?" I asked, putting on my best I totally haven't already dealt with two minor crises tone. "Hello, Kai. My name is Karen," a woman's voice snapped back, "and I have a problem." The way she said problem made it sound like I was personally responsible for all the woes of the modern world. My internal alarm bells, finely tuned after years in customer service, immediately went off. "Of course, Karen. What seems to be the issue?" I leaned back in my chair, bracing myself. "Well, Kai, I was locked in your gym last night and I need you to fix it." Her voice ratcheted up a notch, dripping with indignation. I blinked, genuinely confused. "I'm sorry you were locked in here. Last night, I tried to buy myself some time, my mind racing through our nightly closing procedures. We were a small, fairly new fitness studio, not a sprawling chain gym. Getting locked in was practically impossible. Yes, I was in the shower, the lights turned off, and I couldn't get out." The anger in her voice was palpable, like she expected me to personally apologize for her perceived incarceration. "I see, Karen," I said, trying to sound empathetic while my brain was screaming, "Wait, what? Could you tell me a little more? We don't actually have a shower facility here, just changing rooms. And our lights are on a motion sensor, which means..." I trailed off, realizing the glaring inconsistency. "And we don't have a gym per se, we're more of a studio for classes." "Don't play coy with me, Kai," she practically snarled. "This is the gym where I was locked in last night. I know it's the right gym because I've been coming here for years." Years? We'd only been open 18 months. My eyebrows practically hit my hairline. "Karen, with all due respect, I think there might be a misunderstanding. Our facility, my gym's name, doesn't have the kind of setup you're describing. We don't have a large locker room with showers that turn off like that. We also have a strict alarm system that would notify us immediately if anyone was still inside after closing, and our staff do a walkthrough every night. I can assure you, no one was locked in here last night." I laid out the facts, hoping logic would prevail. It rarely does. "I don't care about your alarm system, Kai. I was locked in last night, and I want you to fix it. I was freezing. I almost died in there." Her voice was now a full-blown shriek, echoing slightly through the phone. She sounded genuinely distressed, which only made it more perplexing. I sighed, pinching the bridge of my nose. "Karen, I understand you're upset, but if you're talking about a facility with showers and a big gym floor, you've called the wrong place. We're my gym's name, the one with the bright blue sign, not major chain gym's name down the road, which has full locker rooms and a much bigger setup. Maybe you're thinking of them." I tried to guide her gently. "No, Kai, I know my gym. I've been a member there for years, and it's this one, the one where you work." Her insistence was maddening. It was like arguing with a brick wall made of pure, unadulterated conviction. "Karen," I said, my voice losing some of its carefully constructed calm, "we're a spin studio. We have bicycles and yoga mats. We don't have a weight room or a pool, let alone a shower complex you could get locked in last night. You have to be mistaken." I don't care what you say, Kai. I was locked in last night. I want to speak to your manager. This is unacceptable, she screamed. My eye twitched. Karen, I am the only one here right now. My general manager left early, and even if he were here, he'd tell you the same thing. You've called the wrong gym. I cannot help you fix something that didn't happen here. I was losing my professional cool, the polite facade cracking. You're incompetent. You're refusing to help a customer. This is why your gym is failing. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to tell everyone how you locked me in and then refused to do anything about it. The threat started, a sure sign of a Karen reaching peak performance. Karen, I stated, my voice flat, I'm telling you for the final time, you were not locked in this gym because this gym does not have the facilities you're describing, and our security protocols would have prevented it. You need to call the gym you actually attend. I cannot solve a problem that exists in a different location. There was a moment of silence on the other end, thick with seething anger. Then, a click. She'd hung up. I slowly lowered the receiver, rubbing my temples. Bob was going to owe me at least 2 coffees for this. I made a mental note to check the caller ID history, just in case, but deep down, I knew it was a lost cause. Some people just don't want to be helped, especially when it means admitting they're wrong. And some people just really don't work here.
Monday mornings, man. You'd think the smell of freshly baked everything at the Daily Dough would ward off bad vibes, but nope. I was deep in thought, practically nose to glass with the pastry display, trying to decide between a chocolate croissant and a blueberry scone for the office. My brain was barely registering the quiet morning hum when a sharp "excuse me" cut through it. I turned, still mentally debating laminated dough, to see a woman, mid-40s, power suit, and a phone glued to her ear glaring at me. Or rather, through me. She gestured vaguely at the fruit danishes. Yes, I'm looking for the fruit danishes, she said into her phone, but her gaze was fixed on me, an expectant tilt to her head. I raised an eyebrow. They're right here, I said, gesturing to the actual danishes bright and glistening just a foot from her hand. I figured maybe she just needed someone to point them out, you know? Be helpful, it's Monday. She didn't even break her stride, let alone acknowledge my existence. Still rambling into her phone, she just walked past me, past the danishes straight toward the register. It was clear as day, she wasn't asking where they were. She was telling me to get them for her. The classic "I don't work here" moment brewing before my eyes. A tiny internal smirk played on my lips. Oh no, honey, I thought. That's not how this works. I let her go. She stood there, phone still suctioned to her ear, facing the cashier with an air of profound importance, as if she'd just single-handedly solved the world's Danish shortage. I, meanwhile, picked out my actual chocolate croissant, a blueberry scone, and a couple of those mini quiches for good measure. When I walked up to the register, the cashier, a sweet kid named Maya, gave me a knowing look. She'd clearly seen the whole thing unfold. I set my tray down. The woman in the power suit was still on her phone, still oblivious. She hadn't even looked at the pastries on my tray, let alone tried to confirm if they were her danishes. Maya started ringing me up. Beep, beep, beep. The sound must have finally registered because the woman, still mid-sentence on her call, slowly turned her head. Her eyes landed on my tray, full of my choices, not a single fruit Danish in sight. Her phone call seemed to die in her throat. Her jaw went slack, then snapped shut so hard I swear I heard a faint click. The realization dawned on her face like a bad sunrise. It was a perfect storm of confusion, dawning horror, and pure, unadulterated embarrassment. But instead of the usual Karen explosion, the yelling, the demanding manager, she just deflated. She turned her back on both me and Maya, angled herself into the corner by the coffee machine, and resumed her phone call in a hushed, almost panicked whisper, as if trying to pretend none of it ever happened. She didn't buy anything, didn't even glance back. Maya and I just exchanged a wide-eyed, "Did that just happen?" Look. She shrugged, a tiny smile playing on her lips, and finished my transaction. I paid, grabbed my bag of pastries, and walked out, still picturing that woman hunched in the corner, hiding from her own mistaken entitlement. Honestly, it was a beautiful thing to witness. No screaming, no demands, just a self-imposed corner timeout for assuming a stranger worked there. If only all Karens had this kind of crisis of self-awareness and dealt with it so quietly. The world would be a much more peaceful, pastry-filled place. And my Monday? It got significantly better.
This next one, yeah, it's a good one too.